herzlich willkommen zurück. Wir spielen weiter, nachdem wir den Ultra New Content gefunden haben. Den New Content. Das ist auch der Grund, warum hier so viele Luftballons hängen.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. No matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
Okay. Der Eimer. Es ist nämlich so, dass wir in dem neuen Content diesen Eimer gefunden haben. Und jetzt ist er hier. Wie cool.
Stanley picked up the bucket.
Oh, total. Ich fühle mich total beruhigt. Das ist der Beruhigungseimer.
Stanley took the bucket with him into this little hallway and closed the doors. This was their hideout. No one would ever find them here. Of course, no one would ever find them anyway because everyone was missing. But Stanley chose to ignore this fact and instead focus on how cool the hideout was. Just him and the bucket, two renegade heroes of the world, inside their secret, undetectable hideout, here, next to room 417. What a treat.
Okay.
Ah, no, apparently not.
Naja, doch schon. Okay. Überall diese Luftballons.
Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Ja, ich glaube, das tue ich. Aber ich war auch noch nie rechts. Ich war wirklich noch nie auf der rechten Seite. Immer links. Ah, mal schauen. Das ist krass, dass man nicht mal die Außenwelt sehen kann.
Still no one was here. Stanley needed the bucket's warmth and comfort now more than ever. Perhaps his boss's office was where he'd find answers.
Oh. Who moved my desk? Okay. Hallo Besenkammer.
Oh, Stanley, can you feel it?
Ja.
The broom closet. It wants the bucket. You can feel that, can't you? The aura of jealousy. It's as clear as day. This broom closet believes it deserves the bucket. I can really feel it now. It's a bucket. It belongs in a broom closet. That's what the broom closet is trying to say here. It's supposed to go with the other cleaning supplies.
Genau.
Good for you, Stanley. Don't give in.
Nein.
Don't
Das ist
hand
mein Eimer.
over the bucket.
Mein
I know
Eimer.
how hard it must be, given the pressure that the broom closet is putting on your shoulders right now, but you have to be strong.
Okay.
This is your bucket. This is your companion and lifelong friend. You can't hand it over. Oh, no. We're getting into name-calling now, it seems. Is this how low the broom closet has sunk, that it has to resort to this stream of petty insults simply in order to get you to hand over the bucket? Stanley, I never liked this broom closet for a variety of reasons.
Oh.
But even this is worse than I had imagined. And wait, now the broom closet has the gall to imply that you and the bucket are not truly deep and lasting friends? That your relationship is purely superficial and convenient? That your life is so banal and meaningless that you'd feel the same sort of kinship towards any inanimate object which happened to lay in your path in an even partially enticing manner?
Nein.
Well, I never.
Nein.
Go on, Stanley. Lay into it. Really tell the broom closet off for its demeaning comments. Expand on the wide variety of experiences you and the bucket have shared together. Go through each of them point by point. Share your journal entries detailing the rich emotional landscape of your feelings for the bucket as they have changed and evolved over the years. Let him have it. Okay, I've got you something which I think will help settle this debate once and for all. Here we go. There. Now it's settled. No more debate, no more discussion. Take a hike, broom closet, with all your meandering philosophical diatribes about the nature of cleaning supplies and their relationship to broom closets in the natural order of things. All right, I've got a second sticker back here, and I'm going to slap it on as well because I think it's appropriate. You see? I feel that it works because the sticker is also a bucket. That way, if you're ever unsure whether the thing you're holding is a bucket or not, you can look down at this sticker and say to yourself, ah, it's a bucket.
Oh.
There really is a wide variety of applications for this sticker.
Warte mal, wie kommt denn der zweite Aufkleber unter den ersten?
You know what? I could take the name-calling and the dismissal of your kinship with the bucket, but now the broom closet is just giving us the silent treatment. And to be honest, I'm sick of the pettiness on display. You can stay here all you like, but I've had it with this impetulant room of cleaning supplies. Easily the most childish such room I've ever been in. I'll see you outside, and we can get on with the story about you and your bucket.
Okay. Nicht mehr? Okay, vielen Dank für die Sticker.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Ja, ich glaube, das tue ich. Vielleicht kriege ich hier ein bisschen Wasser.
You found one of them. Yeah. One of the miniature Stanley figurines. Remember, no reward for collecting all of these, only the intrinsic pleasure of a job well done. You can't buy that sort of happiness, Stanley. God knows I've tried. So, I implore you to savor each and every moment you come across one of these beautiful figurines.
Money in the morning, money in the evening, money for breakfast, money crisp. Ich habe immer noch kein Spiegelbild. Okay.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, Stanley may have broken down into an emotional dumpster fire, if not for the soothing presence of the bucket. Even now, in his darkest of hours, did the bucket's warmth and guiding light pierce the dark clouds of confusion and chaos. It would be with him, always, The bucket would. And he knew it. The two of them were inseparable. At this point, Stanley was so absorbed in the tender spiritual connection he shared with the bucket that he didn't notice the keypad behind the boss's desk. Nor in his bliss of simply being near the bucket did he have any notion that the PIN number for the keypad was 2845.
Okay, es hat sich nicht geändert. Ich tanze auf den Tischen.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs.
Was?
Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
Okay. 2, 8, 4.
2,
Ja, ist ja
8.
gut, ich hab's
But
jetzt.
Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him?
Ja.
Yes. This is certainly the most logical explanation.
Ah, another figurine.
Another miniature Stanley figurine.
Cool.
This, there really must be a snappier name for these things. What about mini stands? Stanley figs? What about Stanlerines? Yes, I think I like that.
Stanley.
Another Stanlerine under your belt.
Under my belt. Ah, es wackelt. Es ruckelt. Sorry for that.
The elevator raced downward, plummeting towards an unknown fate. It would be all Stanley could do to keep himself together, if not for the bucket. Soothing him, comforting him, reassuring that in this darkest moment of uncertainty, he would be all right. The bucket is here for you, Stanley. Everything will be fine.
Nein, ich guck erstmal in diese komische Gedankenkontrollanlage.
Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Oh Gott, diese Option haben wir ja auch noch. Nein, ich bleibe auf meinem Weg. Ich bleibe.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the
Kann ich
bucket
das auch
both
mit
wondered to
dem
themselves.
Eimer machen? Hier runterhüpfen? Oh no. Oh no. Ich will nicht runterfallen. Ich will nicht runterfallen.
The monitors jumped to life, and Stanley nearly dropped the bucket in shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
5, 2, 8. Moment, ich will nur mal ganz kurz gucken. Sieht das wie eine Fehlermeldung?
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind.
Aber mal ehrlich, kann ein Eimer überhaupt denken?
No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control, never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket.
Es ist nur ein Eimer. Und er gehört mir.
But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions. Happy, or sad, or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
Das hätte ich gerne gesehen.
When at last they came to the source of the room's power, Stanley and the bucket knew it was their obligation to put an end to this horrible place and to everything it stood for.
Okay.
He and the bucket waited in blackness. Was it over? Yes, they had done it. Stanley and the bucket had defeated their greatest and darkest enemy, freed themselves from the tyrannical grip of the evil mind control machine. Freedom was now mere moments away. Excitedly, the two of them began to discuss the kind of life they wanted to live once they stepped through this massive door. The bucket wanted to learn to roller skate. Stanley wanted to sneeze in every country on Earth. Both of them wanted to begin watching a movie, any movie, but then stop it halfway through and begin watching it in reverse from the end. True, it was a simple life they envisioned, but it was one they'd lived together, with one another to lean on, to trust, to support, and...
Oh no.
What? Wait. What was happening?
Huh?
Why had the door stopped? Was Stanley and the bucket not about to be freed?
Was?
An unbearable silence filled the room, lingering in uncertainty. Until finally the truth hit Stanley square in the face. This building did not want the bucket to leave. Even the facility itself recognized the incredible calming presence of the bucket, needed the soothing warmth of the bucket, would go to any lengths not to part with the bucket. No, no, no. Stanley can't leave this place. Not while he has such a precious bucket in his arms. Not while this building has anything to say about it. Stanley realized he would never again leave this very room. But at least he has the bucket. To be trapped eternally in darkness isn't really so bad, Stanley thought to himself. As long as I have my bucket with me, right? I'll be okay, won't I? Stanley gulped. Very soon now, he was about to find out.
Oh no. Heißt das, ich kann nicht entkommen, wenn ich den Eimer bei mir habe? Heißt das auch, der Eimer kann nie entkommen? Das ist ja furchtbar.
All of his co-workers were gone.
Oh.
What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Figurine Finders Committee. Oh, cool.
Stanley lifted the bucket into his arms, and a wave of comfort rushed over him. Stanley clutched the bucket tightly to his chest and entered the door on his left.
Ja. Korrekt. Njong. Njong. Oh. Trust the completionist instinct. Huh. We need more planks. Stairs. Warehouse access plan. Produce one plank to allow ease of access past fence. Okay. Construct bridge to allow collection of shiny float. Das ist das hier, das the bathroom. Executive bathroom. Ein Kamin. Ja, ich glaube, das habe ich auch schon gefunden. Okay. Retrieve Chris's remains from warehouse floor. Warte mal, der Chris, der in der Besenkammer eingesperrt war. Oh, okay. Construct new structurally sound bridge. Sound bridge. A large room, lots of boxes. Das könnte... Ich habe keine Ahnung. Is this some kind of game? There must be a point to this. Stairs. Warte mal, wir kommen doch jetzt gleich ins Treppenhaus, ne? Okay. 5 there be, just take it from me. Looks like 4 to 7. Ha ha ha. Will be a reward for finding them all. Ah, das klingt gut. I want them so much. I want to go home. There will be cleaning of this wall required. Who are you? Thank you, good luck. Okay, how we can find them? Bottom text. What do we know? Small floating objects have appeared across the office. We have to synergize our resources to ensure the retrieval. There are many questions. How can you tell you've spotted one? What makes them float in the air? Gute Frage. Who took these pictures from them? Of them? Follow clues provided by employee 416. We can do it. Red room? Maybe we are the collectibles. Naja, ich meine, wenn er so aussieht wie ich. Square of levitation. Weird spinning figurines. Can we sell them? Auf jeden Fall. Why floating? Dreams, magic. Trust the completionist instinct. Why wouldn't they just tell us something will happen? This investigation, this room, they feel pointless. TBH. Weiß ich nicht, was das heißt. Please do not leave the office before reporting back on any new findings. Teamwork and communication are of great importance during the time of time of investigation.
Stanley, we must move on from this broom closet, simply because I have no remaining stickers. If I did, you can guarantee we'd be in here for hours. But alas, no stickers.
Ein paar Stunden, ne? Ah. So viel Zeit habe ich nicht.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office.
Nein, tat er nicht. He went downstairs. Ah, das dachte ich mir nämlich.
Okay, I'm going back to the name of these little Stanley figurines. And now I'm torn between Stanlerines and Figlies. What do you think, Stanley? What name better encapsulates the intrinsic sense of happiness that you get from seeing a small number in the corner of your screen go up by one? Let me sit on it. I'm sure it will come to me. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss, admitting he had left his post during work hours. He might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. He looked down at the bucket in his arms. Am I crazy? He asked the bucket. The bucket returned his gaze, said nothing at all. That's strange, Stanley thought. Usually the bucket is a source of guidance and wisdom for me in difficult times such as these. He held the bucket close, yet felt none of its familiar reassurance and comfort. And that's when Stanley realized, this isn't my bucket. It's just a normal, everyday bucket. Someone else's perhaps. How did I end up with someone else's bucket? This is all terribly wrong. Surely no good would come from this. Who knows what sorts of bizarre hallucinations Stanley might experience without the psychologically grounding presence of his bucket. Indeed, now he noticed that the rooms were repeating, which was, of course, very odd. And now he felt himself floating off the ground. Oh, gracious, he exclaimed. Without my bucket, I've gone truly mad. Where is it? I must find it. Far off in the distance now, he heard it, calling to him. Stanley! Stanley, it's me, the bucket. Could it truly be? He rushed forward from room to room, passing by one bucket after the next. None of them were his. None of them were his special bucket.
Oh, hier sind so viele
Come to me, Stanley. Find me. He had to find the bucket. He had to return to his old friend. It was the only way to truly restore his sanity. And then suddenly, he froze dead in his tracks. He knew where the voice of the bucket had been coming from. The real bucket was inside of him all along. It was incredibly painful. Stanley doubled over in agony and blacked out.
Nein! Ich hab meinen Eimer noch nicht gefunden.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She rose, got dressed, picked up her bucket of comfort and security, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town, talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. Right away, she knew what the problem was. This man had no bucket. Of course he'd gone mad, ranting and raving about a narrator describing all of his actions and how everything is predetermined and free will is an illusion and it's all just a video game. It could all have been prevented if only he'd taken his bucket with him.
Ne, ich hatte ihn doch.
Perhaps he didn't even realize he'd forgotten his bucket at home in the first place.
Nein.
How cruel the world can be, Mariella thought, and she hugged her own bucket even tighter. But of course, she had no time for this. There were a myriad of confusing problems she would soon have to confront at work, for which her bucket would provide absolute guidance and total clarity on everything. Heck yes, she thought to herself.
Heck yes.
My life kicks ass. And she backflipped all the way to work.
Rückwärtssalto. Schön. Okay, das war's auf jeden Fall wert.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo. The confusion and the chaos all seemed to melt away as Stanley embraced the bucket.
Okay, wir haben noch
Stanley
ein
clutched the
bisschen
bucket
was
tightly to his chest
auf der
and
linken
entered
Seite.
the door on his left.
Genau. Oh.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley and the bucket walked upstairs to the boss's office. Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Crushed by the weight of this revelation, but Stanley guessed the correct code by sheer luck. Was it that the bucket knew all along? Was the bucket guiding him? Yes, this is certainly the most logical explanation. Stanley and the bucket walked straight ahead through the large door that read, Mind Control Facility.
Okay. Nochmal das Ganze.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens. What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley and the bucket both wondered to themselves. The monitor jumped to life. In shock. Everyone in the office was being videotaped, monitored like guinea pigs. The bucket had never seen anything like this, and it very nearly burst into tears as Stanley cradled it gently, reassuring it that everything would be fine.
Okay.
Was the bucket under the mind control facility's influence as well? Had the bucket been told to do things it didn't wish to do? What kinds of things does a bucket want to do or not want to do in the first place? These questions raced furiously in Stanley's feeble mind. No! He screamed into the bucket. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control. Never! He squeezed the bucket tighter. His one friend in the entire world. At this point, he could trust no one except for the bucket. But here was the proof. The heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content. Walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he and the bucket would dismantle the controls for good. Two best friends, Stanley and the bucket, up against the world. They high-fived in a really cool way, and the bucket made a sassy comment about taking down the system.
Das hatten wir beim letzten Mal schon. Jetzt diesen hier.
But at the last second, the bucket jumped in and pressed the button to turn on the controls. Stanley gasped in horror. Had this been the bucket's plan all along? To take over the machine and claim the power for itself? How could the bucket have betrayed him like this? Stanley was prepared to throw the bucket away in disgust when suddenly an image appeared upon the enormous screen. Birds. Silly, silly birds. The control buttons became active again. Stanley flipped through one video of silly birds after another, and then it dawned on him. This wasn't a mind control facility at all. It was a facility for monitoring and surveilling silly birds all over the world. The mind controls were only a facade to disguise its true intentions. Had the bucket known this all along? Stanley marveled at the metal genius in his hands, the one who had pointed him towards this incredible discovery. Stanley and the bucket never found freedom because they spent the rest of their lives here in this place, flipping through live streams of the silliest birds imaginable. Of all the possible paths his life could have taken, this one was surely the best. And Stanley was happy.
Cool. Okay, und wir sind wieder zurück. Ganz gut, das war's erstmal für